Hi, Facebook friends. Helen Archontou here, CEO of the YWCA of Northern New Jersey. Happy to have this time with you again. Sorry, we're having some technical difficulties today. And it's been the kind of startup that would make me imagine we might have them again through this. But don't worry, we're gonna power through and get this important information to you today. We're grateful to have Jessica ElGamil with us. If you heard earlier, as I shared, she's a 15-year veteran of the state of New Jersey, working in various roles, from being a social worker with the Department of Children, um, Children Protection and Permanency, right? And she's also now doing vocational rehabilitation. But she ultimately is a strong community person who understands a lot of the systems. And right now, our focus and our conversation with her is being able to help individuals in our community navigate the unemployment system. So we'll jump right into it, Jessica. So hopefully we'll be able to, you know, uh, dodge any further technical difficulties. But so we have so many people that are suddenly out of work today, and obviously it's record numbers than from what we've ever seen before. And obviously, with those record numbers, people are incredibly in need of having those services. Um, so with that, it's okay. It's a working from home with mom thing and parent thing right now. Um, as Jessica knows, my son is sitting in the room as well. So it happens to all of us right now. It's life during the time of COVID. So with that, tell us a little bit, who is now eligible for unemployment that maybe traditionally might not have been.
So traditionally, unemployment in the state of New Jersey had a specific criteria. Many people know that they would have to have either been discharged or let go, fired, typically from their job, to be able to meet the eligibility requirements of unemployment at the state level. Because of COVID-19, the state of New Jersey has expanded its eligibility requirements to people not only who have been terminated, who've been laid off, but um, because of COVID-19, they have expanded it to people who have been affected in different ways than just termination in the workplace. So I'm just going to give a few examples. Traditionally, if you had to quit your job, you would not necessarily be eligible for unemployment on the state level, but because of this new expanded unemployment program, you would be eligible for unemployment benefits through the state if you have a child at home. Obviously, we know schools are closed. So if you have a child at home and you can't go to work and your workplace is still physically up and running, you would be eligible for unemployment. You would be eligible for unemployment if you in fact were infected with COVID-19, or you had to care for a family member, immediate family member, who was in fact infected with COVID-19. So you would be eligible for unemployment benefits in that regard. Besides the state level, the Federal CARES Act, which is the federal opportunity for people to get the extra $600. I know the $600 keeps floating around. People keep talking about the extra $600. In regards to that, the eligibility requirements are fairly simple. If you qualify for a minimum of $1 on the state level of New Jersey state unemployment, you automatically qualify for COVID Federal CARES Act, which is the $600 on top of your state unemployment benefits. So many of you guys know it's been a very long road for those of us, for people who have been applying for unemployment through the state. The minimum that I have seen is 5 to 6 weeks for an approval process. At some cases, it's been even longer, 7, 8, 9 weeks. There are still people that I know of that haven't been approved till today that applied back in March, unfortunately. Some of the reasons for that is the state had a system in place from the 1970s, which had never been upgraded until now. And they immediately tried to mitigate that situation by hiring and updating the systems, hiring staff and updating the systems for the technological systems to be able to support the people who are on the websites, who in fact at one point the website was crashed down for days. So between the antiquated technology, between the lack of actual just people, human resources to process these applications. The system was really slowed down for the most part. At this point, I would say within the last 2 to 3 weeks, a lot of applications have been approved. And if they haven't been approved, at least people know if they were approved or denied. So if they were approved, they know that they were getting a dollar amount from the state, and then they would also be getting that $600 on top of the state approval. Now, the max state approval in New Jersey goes by, each state is different, but the max state approval dollar amount is around $715 in New Jersey. That's for the state. So you could be, depending on your income, it's a percentage of your income. So you could be earning upwards of $600-700 from the state side, and then the extra 600 from the federal. The federal is not as long as the state. You might be approved for the state for a matter of 6 to 9 months. The federal, as of today, is only approved for 4 months, and technically up until around August 1st. Okay. As of Friday, the federal government is putting together a second stimulus package, which includes an extension of the Federal CARES Act, which is now called the HEROES Act. It hasn't been fully approved yet. However, that would look like another 6 months of federal CARES Act unemployment, as well as expansion of other programs for people to be able to tap into financially.
Right. And I'm happy to hear, and I'm sure we're all not surprised that there's an extension, coming in place. Obviously, not only is it unprecedented numbers that are applying, the length of this situation that we're in is obviously going longer than maybe we had expected. We don't really know what to expect. So I think any of us, including the government, we're just kind of waiting and watching the numbers to make decisions. And so with that. So I have a question. If individuals have never filed taxes, are they still eligible for the stimulus check? I know that's a question that I've heard from others.
So the stimulus check is kind of tricky because the way that they were able to disseminate this money was through people who have filed for their taxes in the last 2 years, 2017, 2018. If you have not filed your taxes for the last 2 years, not counting 2019, let's say you've never filed taxes your whole life, technically, no, you would not be eligible for the stimulus check for the $1,200 per person. However, if you're on Social Security, if you're disabled, or if you are very, very low income, many people don't know this, but if you earn less than $15,000 in the state of New Jersey, you're not federally required to even file for an income tax. Okay. But there's an opportunity to go back into the website, into the IRS website, and file. It's called a non-filers form. I can give you guys the links at the end of the call for people who don't typically file. Could go, but they're still eligible, and they can go into the IRS and file a non-filers form, and they can receive the $1,200 for themselves. If you haven't filed and you're not eligible, if you haven't filed taxes in the last few years, you haven't really worked, and you're not eligible, most likely you won't get approved for that $1,200. But I say it never hurts to check. It never hurts to try. You go in, you file that non-filers form. You may see that you can get approved, and you would not have known that if you tried. So it doesn't hurt to try. It takes a few minutes to go in there and file the non-filers form.
Okay, well, that's great information. So, what if people have been denied, after they filed for unemployment? Do they have any other options, or is it finished? That's it.
So this is the thing. I've noticed the application process for unemployment is extremely complicated. If you choose one wrong answer, so to speak, you could be denied, although you're eligible. So one of the things that I say is if you've been denied, you can go back and reapply. Bring somebody into the conversation that may have either already applied, or like someone like myself, or somebody from a nonprofit organization, a community organization who's doing this all day, all season, trying to get people approved. There's special instructions, PDF files on the IRS website that tell you, click this, click this, click this, because one wrong click and you may have disqualified yourself unknowingly. So my first advice is go back in, reapply. My second advice is identify if you're eligible based on the traditional unemployment benefit package or the COVID-19 unemployment benefit package. The COVID-19 unemployment benefit package, as I mentioned earlier, has expanded to cover multitude of unemployment reasons. For example, I didn't mention this earlier, but it's extremely important that I include this information. People who are self-employed. A lot of people I've been hearing, I don't qualify for unemployment. I didn't apply because I'm self-employed. Currently, with this expanded act for COVID-19, people who are unemployed, people who are self-employed, have their own businesses, can go on to unemployment, and they self-certify. Typically, one of the main reasons which people don't really think of, that they're not getting approved quickly, is because their workplace is actually physically shut down. So when you think about getting approved by unemployment has to reach out to your job, and your job has to confirm if you've been an employee there, if you've worked there, if you've in effect have been terminated or furloughed. So if unemployment can't reach your physical workplace because it's been closed down, that is one of the reasons that the process is so slow. If you're self-employed, you will be eligible. You can still go in, you can apply, and you can actually self-certify. You can self-certify, and part of that self-certification process is actually providing supportive information like a website, a business card, a pay stub that proves that you are in fact self-employed, you have this business, and you've been getting paid X amount of dollars. So people who are self-employed are eligible for unemployment. If you haven't applied yet, please apply now. It's not too late. You can still apply, and you can certify that you've been unemployed since back in March, and you will get, if you get approved, you'll get your back pay.
That's great information, because I do know a lot of people that either they just because they're freelancers, or they kind of work differently than in a traditional work environment, figured that why bother, I'm not going to get it anyway, or the process was overwhelming and they didn't do it. This is an opportunity for them to know that there's still time, you can go
Yeah.
back, and although you'll have to wait for the money, if you're approved, you will get your money back to March. So that's great information. And I know you mentioned some links earlier, Jessica. If you send them to us, we'll post them on this feed, so that
Okay.
anybody watching, would be able to get that information. Another question for you, based on something you just said, in case it came up for anyone else watching. Also, you mentioned people like you, or nonprofit organizations that might be able to assist with questions right now. Who are some of those entities that people might be able to go to right now for assistance? Because obviously, if they're calling unemployment, that's one of the things I know that I've heard, that people are frustrated because they can't get a person to answer their questions, and they can't get answers to their questions. So who's the next best person to start calling to get information from?
So the reason that unemployment, the Department of Labor is not answering is because people are not really physically there all the time. People are in the state office buildings, but they're staggered. They have to follow the same social distancing rules that we're all following, working from home, and working through these new federal laws, state and federal laws, in physical workplaces. So if you're feeling frustrated and you can't reach anybody through the Department of Labor, there's now a link. It's an email portal that you can actually send an email through the portal into the website, and there's people who are running technical. They're really their sole job is to handle these technical difficulties through the unemployment, through Department of Labor. So that's my first advice. Go into the website. I have the link. I'll get it to you guys. It's a form. It's an actual form. It goes directly into the portal, and people are designated to handle these requests. So that's the first thing. The second thing, unfortunately, a lot of the state agencies, as I mentioned, are closed. You're not going to get too much assistance with local agencies such as Board of Social Services, things like that. I would recommend, I would say, in New Jersey, if you go to the DHS website, all of the DHS, which is Department of Human Services, has links to, if you need assistance with food, if you need assistance with housing, if you need assistance with, for example, like what we're discussing, unemployment. There are links for all these different agencies within the community that have been assisting, and they're already ready, and they already have the knowledge and the information. One example is Waffle House. I don't know, depending on where people live, depending on which
Yeah.
counties they live in, Waffle House in Passaic County is an agency that is ready and willing to help people. They've got legal staff on board, and they have consultants who are volunteering their time, like myself, to troubleshoot and even do individual questions. People have individual questions. They have very specific cases that can be extremely complicated. So those complicated cases, unfortunately, aren't going to be solved over, these kinds of presentations. We can definitely field lots of general calls and questions, but the complicated and the very specific cases, I say, just reach out to even your organization. I know will probably be able to assist. Once you guys get those links up, we can collaborate and further give people the specific troubleshooting answers that they need.
That's wonderful. Thank you. And again, anyone watching, we will include all of these links in the comments after we are finished with the broadcast, so you can join us back here. And also a reminder to anybody watching, if there's someone in your life that you think would benefit from hearing this information that Jessica is sharing, this will stay on our Facebook page, and you can share it with them at any point so that they can have that connection. So we talked about freelance employees. We talked about full-time employees. What about a part-time employee? Are they eligible for these benefits as well?
So part-time employment would be considered reduction of wages. So you may have worked full-time at some point, but you were furloughed down to maybe one day off, or there's a rotation going on in the office. So, you're only going into the office one day, you're only working 2 days. You could even, like you said, have just one part-time job, and have had maybe two part-time jobs in the past. That will be calculated once you file for the unemployment claim on Department of Labor. They give you options to add employer. You can add your employer, you can add yourself, you can add your part-time job, your Uber job, you can add your babysitting job, you can add, people who are literally earning cash jobs, cleaning,
Yeah.
babysitting, nannying, doing things that they don't have a paycheck, they don't have a paid stub. We're earning cash for these jobs. Those people are still out. Those people under the Expanded Act are actually eligible now. So you can say, I have a reduction of wage. Typically, I was making X amount of dollars. Due to COVID-19, I was reduced. A lot of people are just hoping to get a little something. And I know that even if the state approves you for a small percentage of your salary, whether it be a percentage of your part-time job or your full-time job, that $600 will kick in. People are asking, when does it kick in? Okay, there isn't an exact formula, but it's usually within a few days of your state unemployment direct deposit. So when you see your state unemployment direct deposit hit your bank account, let's say on a Monday, you can hope that your $600 will hit the bank account within a few days, at least 3 or 4 days, if not less.
So if people were on unemployment before COVID happened, and then this happened, is that a change, that anything that they should be filing in relation to that, or is that just they're in the system already and it goes? And if for some reason, a follow-up to that, just to think about, if they have been unemployment and for some reason it was going to end in the midst of all this time, is there an opportunity for them to get further coverage?
It's funny you asked this, because I was just working with somebody over the last few weeks who had this exact situation. It's extremely frustrating, because you would think that the logical solution would be an extension. Okay.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, we're not working with logic at this point, because as you said, like a month ago, we would have never, known we'd be in this situation, and things are changing on a daily basis. But in regards to having been on unemployment in the past, so there's going to be a break in the assistance for that. Why? Because you were approved for unemployment for a termination or a loss of wages for a a job that was not COVID-19 related. Okay. If that unemployment at that time is exhausted and there's no extension for that, then unfortunately you would have to reapply under the COVID-19 application process, which will
Uh,
put you back a few weeks, but you will eventually get approved. You will eventually get approved. And like I said, you will get that $600 from the Federal CARES Act. But unfortunately, it can be extremely frustrating and it can be extremely time consuming because you already have a case open. So it's going to be challenging. I would say wait till your case is completely closed and then reapply through the COVID-19 application process.
got it. Yeah, and I would imagine as well that the fallout of, the economic fallout of what we're in, obviously we know is still unrealized. There's much more, I'm sure, to unfold ahead of us, and even organizations like ours, we had programs that had to cease because they were school based, and we didn't have other responsibilities that we could give staff. So we obviously had to put them out on unemployment, as part of this process ourselves. So it's obviously impacted every type of business, and as you said, anyone who's a freelancer and a cash business everywhere. Um, Again, I would think that this will continue. We'll be seeing more packages, coming, and additional supports.
Yeah,
Um, because we're dealing with what is it right now, which again we wouldn't have imagined we'd be here, but I'm sure there's more ahead of us that we're still, waiting to see how it unfolds.
absolutely. And I mean, in regards to the numbers and the types of jobs that you're mentioning that people unfortunately are getting released from, women and minorities unfortunately are at they're very disproportionately unemployed at this time
Yeah,
in the state of New Jersey and federally, countrywide. Um, Out of the 20.5 million unemployed Americans, 55 between 55 and 60% are women.
mm,
And it's I think it's only going to get worse because of a few factors, but the main factor, women and females are representing disproportionately certain types of jobs which were really hit the hardest: retail,
yeah,
service jobs. If you think about daycares that have closed down,
yes,
cafes, restaurants, all the service type of jobs that are predominantly, female, women, um, and also if you think about hair salons, nail salons, 60% of our community is now unemployed, and the number is staggering. It's increasing on a daily basis. Knowing that schools are about to be out of session soon, and one of the really largest concerns that I've seen, people asking, what happens when my company, excuse me, asks me to return to work, but my kids are home?
yeah,
Because school's still out, school's still being done remotely from home, and we're about to hit summer vacation soon.
right.
So we're going to have to see some changes from leadership in regards to how can we handle that as a community, and how women are being affected by that, who are typically the primary caregiver for their kids.
Yeah, I think that that's true. I mean, and even summer camp, which is traditionally a form of childcare that a lot of people use over the summer. Yesterday and today we're starting to hear from the governor's office some feedback about the what we can expect over the summer there. I mean, we're an organization that offers summer camp, obviously, for our community, and we are ourselves waiting to hear information so that we can determine whether or not we can proceed with our normal opportunities as well. So for sure there's many challenges. You're definitely, this conversation is raising a theme that a lot of these important conversations we've had over the last 2 months now have shared about, the disproportionate impact on people of color, the disproportionate impact on women that COVID has had, the fact that the issues that we are dealing with so significantly right now are all issues and social problems and challenges that we were aware of, right? As a country, as folks that have worked in social services, none of these issues that have been really highlighted, everything from the social issues to the systems needing to be revamped and updated. All of these issues have just had the spotlight placed on them even more so during this time, so that, we would hope after we can navigate through this time that these are areas that finally get the attention that they deserve and need, and not just the band-aids that are being thrown on them right now. When you think about the unemployment system, as someone who's obviously worked, with it and helped navigate it for so many people, what if we are fast forwarding to a time that we're past this? What are some of the reforms that you would think should be put in place to really, when we think about those of us that maybe are not involved, but
We're having some more technical difficulties here. The screen is frozen over here. I'm not sure if it's still streaming on your end. I didn't know you were going in regards to your question as far as hope for the future to improve our systems and be able to navigate what I consider, this is really an emergency type of response system that we've had to implement. And I think that unfortunately this is never expected, but now that we have experiencing the aftermath of this pandemic, I think that for the future, technology will be enhanced to the point where working remotely, schooling remotely will be a cultural norm, and it will be the probably the forefront of how we will be successful as a community moving forward. As far as reforms in the state side, I can say that it takes a significant, quite heavy amount of pressure to get any state agencies to really reform and improve their systems through technology. And I think that if anything could change it, this situation would. So we're hoping for improvements. We're hoping for the best, and we're hoping that this opportunity to, as you said, shed light on the significant wage disparities for minorities, for women, and really looking at how families are impacted, how children are impacted financially, socially, emotionally. Hopefully, we can definitely make some improvements in that area and give our families the support that they need to be able to survive. Looking at different social service agencies, looking at support systems in our community, it will be the only way for us to move forward and really get through this together. That's the only way.
Well, Jessica, I'm so grateful for all you shared with us. This was very
We are again. I really appreciate you guys bringing me on here to talk about this subject matter. I know it's been very, very challenging, very frustrating for a lot of people. I'm hoping that things are moving a lot sooner, and hopefully the information disseminated each day on the website, that both the IRS and State of New Jersey DHS websites, people will be able to get the resources and information that they need.